Good afternoon, everybody. We're watching the remnant low now, what it was Tropical Depression Chantal. The last advisory issued at 11 a.m. this morning. We still have the circulation there, but actually two low circulations. Mid-level circulation there, low-level circulation looks to be right there. The only area seeing significant rainfall in our region is the Sandhills. It's a very small area, but boy, it is coming down in some of these locations. Let's zoom in on this area. It's right around Southern Pines area, Pinehurst over there, just east of Rockingham. Rockingham seeing some pretty good rain as well. A couple warnings to pass along to you. We do have a flash flood warning for Hoke and Scotland counties, but also a new tornado warning issued for Moore County. This includes the Southern Pines area, moving into central North Carolina. A weak circulation there. We've seen a couple of these kind of transient rotational couplets in the center of circulation. I'll show you what it looks like. Right there, a little bit of a couplet there. So there's a little bit of rotation just south of Whispering Pines, east of Southern Pines. This is moving north towards Carthage. So there could be a brief tornado in there. You're not going to see it. That's going to be a rain wrap tornado if it's in there at all. These tropical type setups, you tend to see these quick little spin ups. So we're looking in that vicinity right there. You see the flash flood warning further to the south. That flash flood warning is where we saw anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain in parts of Scotland and Hoke counties. Now, as we widen this out, you can see the rainfall, that little spoke right there. I'm actually going to update this because I think that is not a updated rainfall amount. So we'll remove that and kind of replot that. So just to give you some ideas, there's over 5 inches of rain in this area. Now, that's a lot of rainfall, but this is pretty sandy soil over here. That soaks in. It doesn't run off as quickly as in an urban setting or we have hard packed ground or topography. So we can handle some of this moisture, but if it continues in the same spots, that's where you run into issues. And this is going to track north. So eastern part of Richmond County have seen the most rain in our area. And just to give you an idea on how much rain we've seen, we'll show you the official observing spots. So these are the airports and what we call the ASOS locations in our area. You see Southern Pines hasn't recorded any, but there's definitely been rain there. So it looks like an air. Fayetteville, 1.9. Rockingham, currently just over 0.6. Wadesboro, about 0.3. Albemarle, about 1/10. And then you go west and absolutely nothing. We haven't even seen a drop of rain. There were a few reports of sprinkles around Union County, but not enough to measure so far, basically just a trace. Now, it's been breezy out there. That's kind of indirectly associated with Chantal. You could see the winds out of the northwest, or northeast, excuse me, and up to 20 to 25 miles per hour. It's been a nice cooling breeze and it's kept temperatures down. In fact, we're likely going to break our 90-degree streak today, 17 days in a row, one of the longest streaks we've seen. In fact, the 16th longest streak of 90-degree heat since 1878 in Charlotte. So we're likely going to break that today. But here's the thing, we likely will start to clear out this afternoon and see full sunshine in all locations. So it will get warmer out there. Let's go down to Myrtle Beach, though. We'll show you the camera down there first. Down in Myrtle Beach, things are starting to improve dramatically. Look at the surf, and two things you notice. A lot of people on the beach, but not in the water. You know why? Right there, you see that double red flag? That's for dangerous conditions in the water. Very dangerous rip currents and surf. So all swimmers are being advised to stay out of the water. You might see them put their feet in there, but the lifeguards are doing a good job keeping people out of the water. The weather has improved rather dramatically down there. Let's go over to Dallas camera, our Mr. Sparky camera network over in Gaston County. We're kind of on the drier side of this. You see the breaks in the clouds. We're seeing a lot more of that in the western 2/3 of our viewing area with mostly sunny skies and just some fair weather clouds. But where it is raining, we can show you Lylesville, which is in eastern parts of Stanley County, or Anson County, excuse me, going into Richmond County. So you can see the rain out there, and occasionally you'll see the what we call tree mist, these low clouds coming off the trees, moving from east to west. That's the wind flow blowing in. So in Anson County, we are seeing some of the heaviest rain in the eastern part of the county into Richmond County, where the bulk of that moisture is moving in. So let's look at futurecast. We'll show you where this is going to head this afternoon. If you're in the Charlotte area west, go ahead, have your cookouts, go to the pool, the lake. You have no issues at all. Just be ready for some breezy conditions. We'll kind of go into the future here and show you that little ball of heavy rain right there in Southern Pines moves to the north. So it's going to move somewhere between Greensboro and Raleigh, it looks like. To me, this looks to be right around the Burlington area, so just east of downtown Greensboro, moving into central North Carolina. Things dry out here, so even by evening, so the areas where it's pouring now, by 5, 6 o'clock, it should be completely dry with the sun coming out. That's why it should end up being a pretty good day for most areas, even in areas where it's raining right now, because of how quickly this is weakening, but also how quickly it's moving off to the north and east. And you can see by tonight, it's going to be up there in Virginia. So how much more rain? This is additional rainfall on top of what's already fallen. You can see that little pocket right around Rockingham to Southern Pines, and then, you know, somewhere just east of Greensboro. Greensboro is right on the edge, Asheboro as well. This pocket right here, basically between Greensboro and Raleigh, could end up with the heaviest rain. Very narrow corridor. You go to the west, nothing. Go to the east, very little. So this is the kind of setup this is. This is not a large system. It's very lopsided in all, pretty small system overall as it moves to the northeast. And what about the winds? So we'll look at some futurecast winds here. The winds have been pretty light in our area. The highest gust I've seen is now towards Myrtle Beach, just over 50 miles per hour. Offshore winds, though, are pretty strong. Some of these cells out here in the coastal waters will be more problematic, but right around the circulation, you can see about like 20, 30, 35 miles an hour max, unless we get a thunderstorm that develops that mixes some of that stronger air down to the surface. But you see the winds really calming tonight, down tonight into tomorrow. So let's look at the forecast for today, hour by hour. We're looking at really good conditions as we go into the overnight hours. Those temperatures, again, only probably in the low to mid 80s this afternoon with the cloud cover continuing out there. But again, we're keeping a close eye on the severe weather to our east. There is one tornado warning and a flash flood warning for central North Carolina. We'll highlight those areas. This is just east of Rockingham. So this is the area of the greatest concern. So if you have friends or family in that area, that's the biggest concern. The coast is actually seeing improving weather. Areas to the west seeing great weather. Narrow corridor essentially through the middle of the state. We'll have another update coming up in about an hour, and stay tuned for any more warnings or watches. We'll let you know about those and pass those along right here on WCNC+. Good afternoon, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We're going to give an update on the remnants of Chantal moving through the central part of North Carolina. You can see we've got a couple of warnings out there. A tornado warning for Harnett and Lee counties there in the central part of the state, but also a pretty large flash flood warning. This does include Richmond County, and Richmond County is the one county that we've been watching very carefully for some flooding. We've seen some reports of some water standing on the roads, and from Southern Pines, we definitely have some urban flooding going on there, some street flooding ongoing currently in parts of Moore County, which is right there around the Southern Pines area. But let's take a live look up in the Raleigh area. You can see the rain falling in many locations across the central part of the state. That rain continues to fall, especially in the central part of North Carolina, up towards Raleigh, down towards Southern Pines, and then out towards the coast. That's where most of that activity has been moving. We'll widen this out a little bit and I'll loop this, and you can see the remnants of that low pushing off to the north. There's that view up there in the Raleigh area. You see the rain falling, again, pretty lightly in Raleigh. It's the heaviest stuff is to the southwest of there in the Sandhills, so central North Carolina. It's a very tight corridor of heavy rain. You go east or west of that area, and there's almost no impacts at all. We'll go back to the radar, and you can see that remnant circulation right there around Southern Pines, about to move out of parts of Richmond County. So good news there, I think, and even in Richmond County, we should see some rapid improvement there. Now, no more advisories for Chantal. The last advisory was issued at 11 a.m. because it was a depression and it's going to weaken into a remnant low. But this is where we think the remnants will travel up through the Raleigh area and eventually turn towards the northeast over time. A couple cameras to show you. We'll go down to Myrtle Beach first, where we had landfall this morning at around 5 a.m. A couple things you notice. The beach is pretty busy. The surf is up, but nobody's in the water. You see that double red flag right there? That is all up and down the coast. We have dangerous surf and rip current conditions up and down the coast. That is by far the biggest impact at the coast. There's been very little surge. There was some strong winds up to 50 miles per hour this morning, some brief heavy rain. The rip currents are by far the biggest issue. Now in Anson County, where we're closer to us, that's where we're seeing some rain continuing. We'll show you our Lysville camera. It's been pretty wet here. And notice the low clouds. This is kind of what we call tree mist, sometimes even fog, kind of moving from right to left on your screen. That is the flow of air and moisture coming into Anson County. Remember, Lysville is in the far eastern part of Anson County, close to the Richmond County line. So this is by far the worst weather in our viewing area. And just to show you the difference, the gradient in the conditions, we go over to Gaston County, our Dallas tower cam, which is up there around 1,450 feet. Look at the views there. I mean, it's beautiful. Mostly sunny skies, just some puffy cumulus clouds, and temperatures are soaring. In fact, we're up to 86 degrees here in Charlotte. Thought we would break our 90-degree streak. I still think we will, but tell you what, we're going to get pretty close. And I'll show you what that looks like across the area here in a minute, but we'll show you the temperatures first just to show you the difference from west to east. This is really more about what's happening in the central part of the state. Look at the temperatures where the sun has been out most of the day, low to mid 80s, where it's pouring rain and cloudy, temperatures only in the low 70s. So pretty dramatic difference from west to east across the area. So I'm going to widen this out a little bit. We're going to show you the wide view here in a second, just to show you where this system is going, because you can see how small it is in size. We'll widen it out here, and you can see that little area of circulation there. In fact, I think the actual low-level circulation is probably more in here. This looks to be the mid-level circulation, so it's being torn apart a little bit. But notice it's lifting north, and we're seeing northwest flow. So this is a dry flow of air on the backside. We'll see if we get any showers develop on the backside. But I'll be honest with you, the way this is setting up right now, usually when the flow starts coming out of the mountains like this dries out the air even more. So as the system pulls away, I would expect dry air to fill in. Now, we could see some pop-up showers in the mountains, but those are those typical heating of the day showers or storms that pop up on the ridge top. So let's look at the estimated rainfall amounts. I'm going to erase all these numbers because these are a little bit old, but you see the swath of heavy rain right there into Southern Pines. In extreme eastern Richmond County, I want to focus on that area. So we're going to take our cursor, we'll put it right there on Southern Pines and areas just in eastern part of Richmond County. So this little pocket right here, 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. You go to Wadesboro, some light rain, and then back into Union County. Had some reports of mist or drizzle from Mint Hill to Monroe to Waxhaw, even central Cabarrus County, but no measurable rainfall. It was more of a trace amount. You go back to Charlotte, we have not seen a single drop of rain in our area. Let me show you the wind speeds we've seen so far today. It's been breezy. We've seen wind gusts in the Charlotte area up to 24, 25 miles per hour. Certainly not what I would call super windy, but for a summer day, it's definitely breezier than we normally would have for this time of year. Typically the wind's dead calm, so it actually feels pretty good out there, even though it's kind of humid. Here's a look at the actual reporting stations. Rockingham at just under an inch, but you don't go too far to the east where you start getting into bigger totals. Southern Pines, the gauge is broken. It's not zero, trust me. 1.91 in Fayetteville, but then look to the west. Charlotte Douglas 0, Monroe Executive, Concord Regional 0. So we've seen no measurable rainfall to the east. Let me show you the wind speeds. Let me show you the actually futurecast. We'll show you futurecast here. We'll update this every hour. I'm kind of pulling the short range rapid refresh model here to kind of give you an idea. So we'll go into the future here and you'll see that little ball of really heavy rain. And that's really what we need to track, because wherever this goes, this will be a very narrow corridor of very heavy rain and likely flash flooding. Now to the east, these rain bands, even though we've seen some tornado warnings close to the center, it's those rain bands out in eastern North Carolina. If we're going to see a tornado risk, that's where I think the chance will be highest. Now, by 8 o'clock, remember, sun doesn't set till 8:40. The sun will be out. Even areas getting soaked right now in the foothill or the Sandhills, excuse me, from Wadesboro to Rockingham to Albemarle. You actually will see sunshine and things dry out pretty dramatically as we get into the evening. And then overnight, things will dry out completely and we'll get ready for more heat for tomorrow. Now, this is additional rainfall. This does not include the rain that has already fallen. So take a look at the additional rainfall. Again, right there, that corridor just east of Asheboro and the Greensboro area. Look at Raleigh. Raleigh might end up with less rain than areas just to the west. So it's a very narrow band of very heavy rain. And then back here into the Piedmont, including the Charlotte metro area, probably not going to see much at all out of that system. So let's give you your hour by hour forecast for the rest of the afternoon. A lot of folks are hitting me up this morning. Hey, my app says it's going to rain all day. These temperatures are already too low. It's certainly not going to be mostly cloudy, and it's not going to rain. So get out there. Do not change your plans. Temperatures are likely going to be in the mid 80s out there. So we're already seeing sunny skies for the majority of our area. And I'll show you why, because the system is actually shifting to the east even more. And eventually we're going to see a little churn to the northeast. I think that's going to happen pretty soon. And that little wobble to the northeast will bring even drier air into the region. So with full sunshine out and very little in the way of rainfall, temperatures are actually soaring well into the 80s. So we'll watch this. We still have a couple warnings. One more time just to update you on the warnings for folks watching online. We do still have a tornado warning to the bottom of the hour for Harnett and Lee counties. These tropical spin-ups are really hard to detect, and usually when they spin up, by the time we get the warning, they're pretty much gone. The flood warnings are by far the biggest issue. Huge flood warning till about 5:30 for parts of the Sandhills, including Moore County, as well as Rockingham, Richmond County. But I'll tell you what, Richmond County, things are starting to improve pretty dramatically there. So we'll continue to track this throughout the afternoon. Meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees will be here in an hour to give you an update, but improving weather. If you're in the Charlotte area, good news, no issues at all. Our big concern is in central North Carolina. So from the Sandhills up to the Triad and the Triangle, that'll be the area we watch for the remainder of the afternoon.